Few characters in the Marvel Universe are more captivating than Magneto. His superhuman abilities and fierce commitment to protecting mutant kind at all costs make him a fearsome figure, one defined by a general disdain for humanity and its laws alike.
You're right to fear us. We are the future.
In Days of Future Past, Magneto is at his most devious, wreaking havoc across continents and racking up quite the rap sheet in the process. From simple assault to outright terrorism, there isn't a crime Magneto won't commit. And today, we're going to find out what kind of sentencing he'd be up against if he were charged for his spree. The film is split into two timelines, 1973 and 2023. In 1973, we find Magneto, the subject of today's breakdown, imprisoned beneath the Pentagon. The horrifying reason? The 1963 assassination of JFK. At the film's start, Magneto is 10 years into a life sentence to be served in isolation. We'll keep this tally running throughout. And as you're about to see, Magneto's propensity for criminality is going to keep us very busy. In the present dystopian year of 2023, things are looking grim for all of Magneto's beloved mutants. Ruthlessly hunted by packs of sentinels, their numbers are fast dwindling, with only a few scattered groups remaining across the globe. The rest have been slaughtered, along with any human who attempts to aid them, all in the name of making mutants a thing of the past. One such group is discovered and attacked by sentinels, but before their slaughter is complete, Kitty Pryde is able to successfully send Bishop's consciousness into the past, where he alerts the rest of the mutants of the coming threat. This allows them to avoid danger and alter the course of history, setting in motion a deadly game of time-traveling hopscotch that is repeated with every subsequent Sentinel attack. The mutants know it isn't sustainable, and when they link up with Storm, Wolverine, Xavier, and Magneto, a new plan is formed, one that will deal with the Sentinel problem for good. Wolverine will travel back to 1973, when the Sentinel program was at its infancy, and alter the course of history to see that it never gains traction. To do so, you'll have to, number 1, stop Mystique from killing Bolivar Trask, the architect behind the Sentinel program, whose murder prompted widespread support for the use of Sentinels in eradicating mutants. Number 2, do so by getting Xavier and Magneto to shelve their differences long enough to help him. Before he can tackle that task, of course, Wolverine must first bring Magneto from his plastic Pentagon prison. Aided by Quicksilver, Professor X, and Hank McCoy, he does so with relative ease, earning Magneto his first felony charge of the film. This comes with a $75,000 fine and a 5-year prison sentence to be served after the life sentence he was already serving. The group makes its way to the Paris Peace Accords in a race against time to stop Raven from killing Trask. Tensions predictably flare between Magneto and Xavier, but they manage to keep it together long enough to reach the conference and gain entry to it, thanks to Magneto slamming a gate into 2 security guards, earning a few more felony charges and a misdemeanor unlawful entry to boot. The quartet races toward the meeting room, where Trask is attempting to sell delegates on their need for his mutant-annihilating sentinels. Things take an unexpected turn for Trask when his mutant identifier begins to sound the alarm. A mutant has penetrated the meeting. It's Raven, and with the device beeping uncontrollably, she's forced to reveal her true identity. She dispatches the guards with ease and is about to shoot Trask when the unexpected arrival of Magneto and company distracts her. William Stryker takes advantage to attack, but his victory is short-lived. Magneto flings the electrodes out of Raven's body and into Stryker's. It's both noble and criminal. Tack on another assault with a deadly weapon charge to Magneto's list of crimes. Charles and Raven reconnect as Trask attempts to melt into the wall, seemingly unable to believe his good luck. Everything seems to be going according to plan, until Magneto summons a gun into his hand. He doesn't believe sparing Trask his life is enough to prevent Raven's DNA from being used to create the Sentinels, claiming that if she's alive, will never be safe. He attempts to solve this problem by firing at her, but his shot goes awry thanks to McCoy's intervention. This spares Raven from death and Magneto from a murder charge, though felony attempted murder is still pretty serious. Even more serious than the crime is its impact. While Magneto doesn't kill Raven, he's able to arc the bullet's path enough to still hit her in the leg, splattering her blood and the DNA vital to the Sentinel program all over the pavement. McCoy battles Magneto in front of frightened bystanders, giving Raven enough time to blend into the crowd and make her escape. Magneto ultimately gets the better of him and dispatches 4 Parisian police officers before making his escape, earning him another slew of charges. Having lost Magneto and Raven, Charles, McCoy, and Wolverine make their way back stateside. Trask moves ahead with his plot to use Raven's DNA in his newest batch of Sentinels, but unbeknownst to him, Magneto has other plans, which he puts in motion by breaking into the train carrying Trask's Sentinels and infusing them with metal, turning them into weapons he alone can control. He destroys much of the railway in the process, a crime that the Department of Justice won't take lightly. It's considered a terroristic offense, punishable by 20 years to life and a $5,000 fine. And that's under the charitable assumption no one dies because of Magneto's actions. If they do, the death penalty would be on the table. But as there's no way of knowing if that did indeed come to pass, we'll stick with the original sentencing guidelines of 20 years and a $5,000 dent in Magneto's wallet. For those keeping track at home, his running total is up to a staggering life plus 145.5 years in prison and $932,500 in fines. Keep those calculations handy. Things are only going up from here. Unable to convince Raven to abandon her deadly ambitions, Charles, Wolverine, and McCoy head to DC in another attempt to head her off. Meanwhile, Magneto returns to the scene of his imprisonment to retrieve his helmet, which he ultimately does after illegally entering a restricted area and knocking 3 Pentagon workers unconscious. 5 felony charges later, he's helmeted up and ready for war. As the mutants converge on the US Capitol in 1973, things take a dire turn in the dystopian present. Sentinels have been spotted 10 miles out. Wolverine and company have little time left to alter the course of history and save their future selves from annihilation. Magneto has a very different and felonious plan in mind. He rips up RFK Stadium and flies it over to the White House, where Trask is slated to unveil his Sentinels to the world. As Xavier tries to convince Raven not to go through with the assassination, Trask realizes something is amiss as his Sentinels begin hovering, seemingly out of nowhere. This, of course, isn't random. Magneto is controlling the Sentinels, and as he hovers on scene, he forces them to open fire, turning the White House lawn into a shooting gallery. While he doesn't appear to be shooting to kill, this is still an act of outright terrorism, punishable by life in prison and a $2 million fine. In 2023, the mutants stage a fierce resistance to the Sentinel hordes, but time is clearly running out. Back in 1973, McCoy and Wolverine battle Magneto and the Sentinels, and it again goes poorly. McCoy is quickly disabled, and Wolverine filled with rebar and unceremoniously chucked into the Potomac, which is as clear-cut of an attempted murder charge as you're likely to find. Magneto proceeds to rip the president's bunker from beneath the White House and launches into a speech declaring war on Nixon, Trask, and mankind in general. As he's about to open fire on the president, Raven reveals herself, shooting Magneto in the neck with a plastic bullet. She aims at Trask, but ultimately doesn't shoot, and the rest is history. The Sentinel program is shelved, and the dystopic 2023 never occurs. There's a happy ending for everyone involved, except for Magneto. He notes before being apprehended that he's as good as dead, and he's not far off in this estimation. By film's end, He's amassed 266.5 years in prison, which he'll only begin serving after completing 2 life sentences, minimum 25 years each, and paying $3,618,500 in fines. Think the punishment fits the crime? Or does being a backstabbing supervillain warrant stiffer sentencing? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more detailed analysis of the big screen's biggest criminals. Failure to like, share, and subscribe is punishable by a fine of $10,000 and up to 10 years in prison.